Hi there, students. Iniquity or inequity? Iniquity, inequity. There's an I and an E. Iniquity, inequity. Thanks, Javi, for the suggestion for this video. Okay, inequity is injustice, unfairness, whereas iniquity is gross injustice, gross unfairness. So let's see, inequity. I have a cake and there are three of us, and I cut it in half, and I take half for me and the other half I cut and share between the two of you. That's inequity. Iniquity is where I take a gun and shoot you and steal your part of the cake. That's gross injustice. Iniquity is something that is sinful. Inequity is something that's unfair. Equity, balance, equal. Iniquity, sin, evil, something that is really, really nasty. So the iniquity of poverty, where people who are very poor are treated very badly. The human injustice and iniquity. This part of town is a den of iniquity, of evil, of drug taking, of forced prostitution, of slavery. Slavery is an iniquity. Inequity is when things aren't equal. So let's see, racism as it is today is a case of inequity, that people of some races get paid less because they belong to that race. That's inequity, that's unfair. But iniquity is taking these people and making them slaves and not paying them anything. That's something that's morally wrong. So iniquity is something that is morally wrong, something that is a sin, that's something that is bad. Whereas inequity is just something that is unfair. And clearly there's a very big difference between the two of them. Let's see. Inequity comes from Latin, in equity, not fair. Whereas iniquity comes from iniquitous, meaning wicked. So the the difference in pay between men and women, the gender gap, is inequity. But the iniquity of the executions by the regime of the dictator. Inequity is about unfair situations, whereas iniquity says you're doing something that is morally wrong. Iniquity talks about breaking the 10 commandments, or doing things that you think is wrong, things that are fundamentally wrong. The iniquity of corruption in the political life. It's moral failure, moral failure to act. The iniquity of the iniquities of the past, whereas inequity is just unfair. Difference in wages, different access to resource, injustice, educational inequities, that people in some parts of the city get much better education than others. That's inequity. Iniquity would be taking the children from one part of the city and making them slaves in the cotton mills, for example. So Inequity, iniquity. Inequity is, well, it's not good, but it's not that serious. It's not good. But iniquity is very serious. Iniquity is gross injustice. If you like, inequity you could define as injustice, whereas iniquity, very serious injustice. And that's really the difference. So iniquity is moral behavior. It's moral sin. Okay, so the greed, excessive greed and making other people suffer from your greed, that I think you could talk about iniquity. Okay, whereas inequity, you just don't have as much as someone else. It means the system is not fair. Iniquity, a deviation from what is right, wickedness, gross injustice, gross unfairness, a wicked act. And then inequity, something that's just unfair. It's a lack of equity. It's not fair. So I guess there is a point where inequity and iniquity overlap. Where does being unfair become a gross sin? That's the point. So the writer reflected on human injustice and iniquity. Okay, the inequity of incomes in various different parts of the city. Okay, so iniquity, immoral, grossly unfair behaviour. This place is a den of iniquity. Inequity, lack of fairness, lack of justice, social policies aimed at redressing racial inequity. So, inequity, iniquity. Iniquity, 6.5 informality, semi-formal conversation, semi-formal writing and above. Inequity, the same, 6.5, semi-formal conversation, semi-formal writing or above. Bye for now.